Just make sure this is working. Okay. So do you guys see my screen share right now? Okay, great. All right. Well, we're going to get started. Hopefully, we'll have a few more people pop in as we continue on. But I just wanted to welcome everybody to Comics in Color Volume 28. I'm really excited about this, about having Demitrius and Bryce here to talk about their work. I think it's going to be really cool. Um, so, just a few things I wanted to talk about that Comics in Color has coming up in the next month. So pretty much this is what's going on for the month of October, obviously starting with this today, October 10th. Um, so coming up, we did a panel about Black Stories Matter at Ladies Con on September 10th, and they're going to be putting them up on YouTube on October 17th, where they're continually releasing their panels on YouTube, and ours is set to come out on October 17th. That had some great panelists. It was a great discussion. So if you didn't get a chance to check it out at the time, please go take a look at that. That should be really good. So I will be hosting a Illustrator Draw Off on October 20th, which is part of Boston Book Festival as well as Mass Independent Comic Expo. We got some great artists, Jeffrey Brown, Sobi Escabase. I should really learn how to say that before I do it. Liz Pichon, Shannon Wright, and I will be the host. It should be pretty cool. I've been looking through all the books of these folks, and some great storytelling there and some great artwork. So I think it's going to be really fun. We're going to be throwing basically throwing prompts at them, and then they will interpret the prompts as in their own way, which I think will be really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. So for more information on that, just go to Boston Book Fest to find out how to log in on that one. Also at MICE on October 24th, we have our next panel, which is going to be Black Imagination, Afrofuturism to Afrofantasy, which I think is going to be a really good one. Oh, somebody's got to go on mute there. We got some really great panelists on this one: Greg Anderson Elise, TJ Sanders, Steens, and our own Barrington Edwards. Hey, everybody. Hey, Basil. Hey, Jacob. Thanks for coming in. So this is going to be really good. You can find out more information on there at miceexpo.org. Mice Mass Independent Comic Expo is actually happening right now. They're doing it for the entire month of October on Saturdays and Sundays. So there's panels happening all weekend. Tomorrow there's some really great panels that I would definitely recommend you go to miceexpo.org and check it out. They've got the whole schedule up there, including our one about Black Imagination, which I don't think you should miss because I think it's going to be really, really amazing because these are all great artists doing great work. And next week we have Gabriel Reed talking about his work and Black mental health in comics. I think that it's going to be great. We're going to have a discussion about mental health and talk about his comic, which I think is really, really cool and necessary. I think we all, especially now, I mean, Black mental health is an issue that we need to talk about on a regular basis. But I think that especially now, it's very, very important that we talk about this kind of thing. So that's all the presentation I have there. So I'm going to stop my share. I also wanted to do some quick book recommendations because I know everybody's always needs something to read here in the pandemic. So I'm going to start with Joel Christian Gill's Fights. It's a really, really good story. It's a memoir about him growing up in, I think he's from Virginia, I believe, but in the South. And he just goes through and chronicles all the fights he ever got into coming up. It's really an interesting story. I mean, Joel's a friend, great guy, but this book is really, really good. Definitely recommend it. Another one is Tuskegee Heirs by Greg Burnham and art by Marcus Williams. This is an amazing book. I definitely recommend you check it out. It's kind of an Afrofuturistic story about the descendants of the Tuskegee Airmen, and their planes turn into mechs. I mean, that's really all you need to know. Planes, mechs, boom. It's awesome. And Marcus Williams' artwork is just, oh my God, this dude is a king when it comes to artwork. Also, Ebony Flowers Hot Comb. I got to meet Ebony at SPX last year and talked to her. She's actually really, really cool. And I believe she won a Eisner Award at this year's SPX, right? And she's going to also be doing a keynote or something. I can't remember exactly what she's doing, but she's going to be speaking at MICE next Thursday, I believe. Check the schedule, but definitely she's really cool. And this is a great book, a bunch of little stories about her life and, kind of the trials and tribulations of Black women in their hair, which I'm sure we've all, at least know about. So definitely check that one out and definitely check out her talk at MICE later this week. So a few more things I wanted to mention. There's some things in the news that I thought were really interesting. This TV series, Black, by Black Mass Studios. If you haven't read the book, it's amazing. It's kind of sci-fi book about what if only Black people had superpowers, which is like the best premise for a comic ever. And they started to make a TV series with Studio 8, and it just came out this week that Warner Brothers has picked up their project, so they're going to get the corporate behemoth that is Warner Brothers behind this project. So you will definitely be seeing it out there, and I think that's really worth mentioning. I just wanted to give a shout out to Stam Stukoa, who was our guest last time, for getting the mini grant for Mass Independent Comic Expo. He got a little bit of money for printing, and they're going to help him with doing some marketing and getting out in the comic book stores, which I think is really exciting. A few other little news items. They cast Kamala Khan in Miss Marvel, which I think it looks like a really good choice. This young lady looks good. So, and that's going to be out on Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, Disney Plus has been the greatest promise. I mean, they definitely delivered with The Mandalorian, but everything else just seems like a promise from them at this point. But it just seems like there's all this amazing content that's going to be coming up. The Winter Soldier and Falcon and Vision and Wanda, and now this series with Kamala Khan. So I'm really looking forward to what they come up with. But I hope we don't have to wait too long. Another thing in the news was Jonathan Majors from the amazing show Lovecraft Country. If you haven't been watching it, you definitely should, because it is. It's very graphic, but the storyline is amazing. The characters are amazing. Definitely gotta watch it. But he was also cast into the MCU as Krang, not to be confused with the Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who is a guy with a brain in his stomach. But this is Krang, who is a general in the Atlantis army, and just causes all sorts of havoc all over the place. So I think this is going to be an amazing character, and he's an amazing actor, as you've seen with his other work. Last Black Man in San Francisco is another one of his roles that was just out of control. Another thing I wanted to mention is New York Comic Con is actually happening right now as well. It's between the 8th and the 11th, so there is a couple more things happening today, but also a full day of programming tomorrow, which is definitely worth checking out. Women in Comics is doing a comics and cocktail thing at 9:30 tonight, so I assume that's going to be somewhat adult in content just because it's so late. But they always do great stuff, and Regine is we partnered at Ladies Con, and she always comes with it, so definitely check that out if you can. But I wanted to start off our discussion, because I know we got some opinionated folks here. Some of our more opinionated folks weren't able to come today, but I was just wondering who we thought, what series or character of color, of course, because this is comics in color, should get the star treatment, the Black Panther treatment, a big budget blockbuster film or a big budget TV series. So I'm going to open it up for folks to speak if they'd like. I mean, I have my opinions, but I want to give other folks a chance to say what they'd like to see on the big screen. Chris, you got anything?
Thinking.
Well, I can start out by just saying that there's a comic saga, which I think is really great, as lots of different, it's this incredible world built and some really great characters, Alana and Marco, and their kind of adventures throughout the universe. They're soldiers from two warring planets, so it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet sort of story, but really, really good. It gets a little dark, but if you're watching The Boys and you're watching Lovecraft Country, then you're already into it. So I definitely would like to see that one.
I think Spawn should get like his own movie or his own TV show.
Yes. Spawn has had an animated TV show and a pretty terrible movie.
Yeah, that's why they should give him a new one.
Right. I would love to see a real dark, big budget reboot on Spawn. I think that would be incredible. I wouldn't even be mad if Michael Jai White played him again.
They were working on it, but I think they stopped working on it because of something that happened.
Yeah, that kind of thing happens a lot in Hollywood, just like creative differences or funding problems, and all these great projects that should be out get stalled.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx was supposed to play him.
Okay, maybe. I'm not sure if I like that particular choice, but I mean, Jamie Foxx has chops, no doubt. But when I think of that, I think of Electro, and I'm like, maybe not. Although he's done a lot of great roles. I mean, that Project Power that's on Netflix right now is really good.
That's a really good one.
Yeah. Enjoyed that a lot.
Absolutely. That was a nice spin on superheroes.
Yes. Yeah, definitely worth watching. Anybody else have any ideas? Where's Jacob? Jacob disappeared. I know he's got something to say. Oh, Gabriel?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm thinking of, we were talking about Disney Plus, and also something that came in the news was that the movie Soul is coming out in December on Disney Plus, which is cool. But it made me think about how I really still want a Frozone movie, as Frozone from The Incredibles. How come that hasn't happened yet?
Yes.
What's this family like?
That's what I'm talking about. Just a whole Frozone spin-off movie. Where is my super suit? But they have to have, the man. Okay, why am I blanking on his name? Snakes on the Plane.
Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson has to do the voice, or it just wouldn't be complete. But yeah, anything in the Incredibles franchise. I love The Incredibles. I think is such a great movie and such a great take on superheroes too. I think that would be great to expand that universe.
I hope whatever they do, they just do it as well as they did with, obviously Black Panther, with a really good director who really did a deep dive into the story and the place.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was one of the things that made Black Panther so. I mean, besides Black Panther, right? That they really took the time and the effort to create a story that was beautiful, right? They went to Africa, they did research, they researched the languages, the costuming was really well researched. And you could tell they put a lot of time and effort intellectually into putting that together. They didn't just shoot it, they put a lot of thought into it, which I think is what needs. I mean, and you can see when you see a comic book based movie, if the director cares about comics, right? It's a very, very different experience. And you could tell Ryan Coogler cared very deeply about his source material and what, the product that was coming out. So yeah, that's absolutely got to get people who care at the helm. Hey, Reggie, how's it going?
Doing fine. Sorry, I'm late.
No problem. We were just talking about what comic book character or comic title of color that we would like to see given the Black Panther treatment, meaning big budget blockbuster movie or television show.
Well, of course, I've always identified with Storm because she was like the first Black superhero I saw on TV. I think with the timing, probably a Static Shock movie would be really good. An Icon movie, of course, but something probably a little bit more original. If they can find an indie creator or someone who has like a huge library of material, that would also be good. I know like one of the pioneers would probably be Brother Man.
Oh yeah.
Or also I've been looking at Prince of Cats, something that's a little bit different.
I understand that Prince of Cats is being optioned and produced. That was I heard about that about right before everything shut down. So I don't know what's happening with it now, but it was definitely had been optioned, and that's one of my favorite books of all time.
Yeah, I was like I've been trying to get it for years. Finally got it at MICE last year. Also, congrats to Kwanzaa Osafejo for getting Black option for a movie.
Yep, we were just talking about that.
Yeah, I talked with him. Really nice dude. So
yes, yeah, the whole Black Mask crew is actually I've met them a couple times at cons, and they're really cool guys. But that was big news, yeah, and they got distribution or something through Warner Brothers, so they're going to have the big corporate behemoth behind them, which is great. So they'll get the marketing and production that they need, which is great. Chris, I saw you raising your hand there.
Cyborg or an Amadeus Cho Hulk.
Mm.
Because, I mean, I did not really like the Hulk movies.
Thor Ragnarok was the only good one.
Yeah, I just didn't really like it. No.
No. But Cyborg, that's a good one.
Yeah, and not the one in the DC universe. I didn't think that the one in the movie, and I didn't like Justice League as well, like most people.
Fair.
So yeah, I think if they gave them like a better Hulk movie and a better Cyborg.
Absolutely. I think those are two really good options. And like this, you mentioned Storm, that movie should have been, that should have been the first superhero movie they made, as far as I'm concerned. But I'd love to see a World War Hulk, like more of that. They kind of got into it in Thor Ragnarok, which was an amazing movie, but more of that kind of war world Hulk, I would have really, and he's a character of color, right? He's green, so he counts.
Yeah, I found it really weird because like they were planning they have like all these Wolverine movies. Then they had a plan to do a Gambit movie.
Right.
But they didn't really try like exploring more because it's like you have the Omega level Phoenix / Jean Grey. You can have potential with like doing like a Kitty Pryde Jubilee X-23 team up thing. You have potential of exploring at least Beast, the relationship with Rogue and Gambit. You could probably explore some of Magneto's relationship with Xavier, but you still don't have something for Storm. So that's a little weird. And it's like I feel like you have the resources and you have the, like, for some big studios, they have the resources, they have the ability to get the talent and look and research, but for some they don't really want to. And I understand Wolverine has been a very popular character, so everybody wants to write Wolverine, but you have to really diversify, and you have to really focus on more characters, because you wind up with what's going on in the comics now, fatigue with events. You wind up with a messy timeline. You wind up with characters that don't get developed, who have potentials of really doing things. And you also kind of stagnate the genre of superhero comics, because it's just fly around, punch guy, save the day, or something else. And people say there's nowhere else to go. There are other places to go, but not just this type of tiny microcosm. You can go out of the box.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's so much more to be explored in the X titles, especially, which is one of my favorites. Like, I came into comics with X-Men, and that's kind of my base for comics. And you know, the Dark Phoenix saga, of course, they messed that up twice, which is a great storyline. But yeah, there's so much more they could explore in the X saga, and so many more characters. You know, I love Wolverine. Wolverine is probably my favorite comic book character of all time. But I feel, and Hugh Jackman did a great job, but I feel like there's so much more they could explore. Don't make another Wolverine movie. Don't stick Wolverine in every X title that you can just because he's popular. Like, that's what we were talking about. Like, people who really care about the stories that they're telling and the source material that they're coming from makes a huge difference, instead of just trying to like shoehorn in characters or X-Men Apocalypse, which I give as the example as like the worst. The worst. Having Storm come in as a bad guy. Like, why? Right. You clearly don't care anything about, you know, the X titles or what they're doing. But there's so many good. And I like X-Force is also a title I really, really love and would like to see more of. And hopefully that, you know, now that Disney / Marvel is moving these stories forward instead of Sony, who had a lot of misses and a couple of hits. Hopefully, we'll get a lot more. You know, that they'll give the X-Men the Avengers treatment and bring in, you know, good names, good actors, good storylines, and we can just forget, and they'll just retcon everything, and we'll just forget that those other X movies even existed.
I think it depends on the director and the writer, because remember, with the
Absolutely
whole
does.
issue with New Mutants is that the director kind of threw away the source material and just did whatever he wanted.
Right.
And it really messed a lot of things up with that movie. So it really has to. So even if you have the most talented people, you can have a director that doesn't really know how to, doesn't really care. So that's one thing that people really need to understand is, you, if you want to, you have to really stick with the source material, fine tune a little bit things to make it more adaptable for a movie, and make sure that the actors can really use their talents to the best of their abilities.
Especially when you have such a beloved source material, right? That worked really, really well. Um, you know, and people love it. So why change it? Why try to generalize it in that kind of way? I don't quite understand why they do it. It's obviously for profit or whatever, to try to get people who've never read a comic to enjoy the movies, but the comics worked. So why? I mean, I like little changes here and there, don't get me wrong, but not that you have to, you know, be exactly on it, but like, don't insult the source material at least.
not to distract from X-Men, but also makes me think of Star Wars for some reason. I would like to get a series about Finn from Star Wars.
Yes.
Because Star Wars did him so dirty in Rise of Skywalker.
Oh
They
my
even
God.
teased that he might have powers and didn't do anything about it. And it would be awesome to see him lead some kind of stormtrooper revolution. Thought that was going to happen. And if anyone knows anything about the Star Wars comics, I don't really know much about that. Like maybe they did that already, but they should do it.
They
I would
should
watch
totally
it.
do it.
I like John Boyega.
Yep, and I think he had the potential of being a great character. Yeah, that last movie was just so bad. I saw it the first time and I was like, oh, this is fun. You know, it was in a movie theater back when you could go to movie theaters, and I enjoyed it because I wasn't really thinking about. I was just watching the action and not really thinking about the plot. But when you start thinking, like getting into it and thinking about the plot, boy, that movie is terrible. They try to fit everything into this thing. And you're right, the idea like of him meeting Jana, who is also another former stormtrooper, and where they could take that is just really exciting. And I think they're going to do more in the comics. I've been reading a little bit up about what they're doing with the comics now, and they're definitely going to be expanding the stories in the world and building out a lot of stuff through the comics to kind of lead into more stories on the screen. I know they're concentrating a lot on like the old Republic kind of stories now. The in the Day of the Jedi, which I think is really exciting because we've never really seen a story where Jedi are like around. It's mostly like they're either crashing and burning, or they're gone, or they're trying to come back. Never just a story that's within the High Republic when the Jedi were going all over the galaxy solving problems. And so I think I think that's going to lead to a lot of stuff. I would like to see a Finn story, though. I think that could really, explore his force sensitivity and all that kind of stuff would be really cool.
I would love to see that as well.
Yes.
The vision, show the beginning of where the separation came between the Jedis.
Right.
The Sith Lords became who they are, and Jedi, branched off to where they had to put an end to it. I would love to see that. I agree with you on that.
Oh, absolutely. That I would love to see that, because there's like this whole, little bit of history. Like there's like the whole gray Jedi part where before they split, where it was kind of, they were the balance between the light and the dark. So they weren't 100%, like I can't have a relationship, which all that silly Jedi stuff that kind of was instituted by Yoda, I understand.
And showed them how they find their own crystals.
Right.
That whole story with the lightsaber is just, that's mind blowing. I remember as a child when my mother took me to see the first Star Wars, and we get in the theater, and all of a sudden it's bang, dun, dun, you see the words coming out at you in 3D, and then you're sitting there, and then first opening scene is the Republic, I guess, the shooting, trying to stop the stormtroopers, and then this guy comes through, Darth Vader. Oh man! And when he opened up that lightsaber, that was it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I actually just watched A New Hope again like a couple days ago, and it really stands up.
Yes. And when you research just the creativity of it, it's like they said that each Jedi, I think the stone that's in there, the gem that's in there, chooses them.
Right. They get slightly into it in the Clone Wars series. They do a little bit about like going into the Kyber caves and stuff like that, and they finding Kyber crystals. But it's all really, really interesting. And extended universe Star Wars stuff is really, I'm super into it. I'm over the Skywalker saga and ready to get into The Mandalorian season 2, which I'm super excited about. I decided to feature my toys here today when I got a Mandalorian figure for myself for my birthday, because I'm 9. And then a bunch of other little Old Man Logan and Bishop and Tetsuo from Akira's back there.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we'll have to do one, like a session that's just about toys, because oh man, and I'm not even the worst. Like there's so many people who are so much worse than me about buying toys as adults. getting all the stuff I ever wanted, and I pretend it's for my son.
Yeah.
That's why we have kids.
I think I started collecting more toys as when McFarlane started coming out with his collection.
Yes, because that took it to the next level. Like before that, it was just kind of like toys for kids. But when they did those McFarlane figures, they just took it to the next level. Like the amount of detail and the level of it.
You can't go back once you've seen that.
No, you can't.
It's just such a flow, movement to them. They moved without even touching the toy.
Right.
That's what's incredible. My son, when he saw it, when he watched the McFarlane series and how they, his beginnings is with Spawn, I don't know how many times you've watched that thing?
Just 3 times.
3 times? No. Over like 20 times. 20 times. He was so inspired behind it. But when he touched on just the toy making aspect,
yes,
it made sense. It's like he had a vision with that, and they were like, "This has never been done with toys and everything." And when you get them, you want to play with them, but then they look so cool. You don't want them to. You want to collect them. I know when I started collecting them, I had quite a few of them, the earlier versions of them, and then I started branching off, and I got the Zodiac sign series, and I got the what was the other one? I started collecting a few of the sports, and it definitely changed the game.
It really did. And they were like, I think part of the story is when he started first doing it, nobody believed that people would buy these toys. Like, why are you making like a $30, really fully articulated, very detailed toy? Well, kids, it's too much for a kid, and adults don't want toys. Wrong.
Yeah.
We want toys.
We want them.
All the toys. Yes. Good stuff. So does anybody else have anything they want to throw in there about any comic characters they'd like to see?
Miles Morales.
Morales. Like a live action one?
Yeah. I heard they were coming out with one where they were going to make like Tobey Maguire and that other Spider-Man all in like the same movie. Like all the Spider-Man.
That was going to be the Spider Universe, yeah.
The
2 prior Spider-Man actors. I think his name was Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, yeah.
We're going to use him, Tobey Maguire, and the recent one, Tom Holland, and have them in the Spider Universe. So that would be cool.
That would be very cool.
Very cool.
I would like to see that as well. And based on the success of Spider-Verse, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah, I could see that coming off because, I love Tom Holland, but I can't lie, the other 2 did excellent as Spider-Man as well. Seeing him first come to screen with Tobey Maguire, I was blown away. My favorite. No, it's Tobey Maguire.
No, that was Tobey Maguire.
Yeah,
that was the same.
Nope.
Tobey Maguire was the first one, and Sam Raimi directed those, which also makes a huge difference because he's a comic book guy.
Yeah, seeing the first one was amazing, but when he fought Doc Ock,
and the second one, yeah,
man, that was something to watch. I was like, "What part of New York is that?" But I didn't.
Some strange island.
It looked amazing to watch. Definitely, it blew me away.
That was really good. Yeah, unfortunately, then they did Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, and that was rough.
Yeah, I don't know what Venom that was, but hopefully, they'll bridge the gap between this current Venom and Tom Holland. At first, they said it wasn't going to happen. Now it is. So I'm excited about that.
I would love to see that. Carnage, Venom, bring them all in there.
Yeah.
Chris got his. Chris got his hand up.
Chris.
Actually, it wasn't me. It was my dad who got the suggestion. He brought up Bishop.
Yes. Bishop story would be amazing.
Yeah, like a Terminator type movie with Bishop in it. It'd be amazing.
Oh man, yeah, and plus the whole Genosha, the future, the M tattoos, all that stuff. That could be really interesting.
It's a good revolution movie. Gotta fight the power.
Yeah. I would be so into that. I don't know if they should. I don't think they should do bishop with the curl. I think we should maybe
No.
modernize to a bald bishop or something else. But
That's a place where you could see some change. I'd be okay.
I don't know. I want a bishop with a Jerry curl or something like that, at least to have a little bit of, because they all in comics with black hair. It's either the afro, they don't really do flat tops. Some of them do waves. Some, like, I understand Bishop was drawn at one time with dreads, but probably a Jerry curl will be something different because you don't see that many black heroes or comic characters with a Jerry curl.
I see some support for the Jerry curl there. Okay, we'll just agree to disagree on that. I don't know if the Jerry curl needs to come back, but hey, it's original. You're right. I don't think I've ever seen a superhero with a curl.
They embraced the mullet, so at least have a Jerry curl because it will get at least black audiences to come and make fun of the Jerry curl.
Taking it back to the old soul glow.
Right? He could be like sitting by a get up and there's a big wet spot on where he's sitting down. Oh, that was a great joke. But yeah, okay, all right. Okay, fine. Bishop with a Jerry curl, fine. As long as we get a Bishop movie. Okay. You never know when the Jerry curl is going to pop up. But no, that was good. I think we got some really good suggestions there. Hopefully the world is listening and we can get some of these movies happening because I want to see all the stuff we talked about. More black stories is what we're all about. But I would like to now move into speaking with Bryce and Demitrius. I wanted to welcome you guys to Comics in Color. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited you're here. I met Demitrius and Bryce at a Comic-Con, probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
2 years. It's actually
2 years ago.
Yeah. When we first released his first issue of Daddy Long Legs and the InchWorm, we met at ECBAC.
Yes, ECBAC, that's what it was. And that's East Coast, oh my God, Black Age of Comics, the longest name for a con ever.
Yeah.
But a great, really long standing con. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah. We were fortunate to actually have a table right next to you.
Yes.
You had your work, you admired us, and we've been connected ever since.
Yes, and I was really, really blown away by you all collaborating, a father-son team collaborating on this great comic that's about a father-son team of superheroes. And I'm not gonna blow up your spot, Bryce, but you all dressed as your characters, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are so cool. And then I asked Bryce about the character, and he did not break character at all. Like he would not say, I was like, oh, where's the InchWorm at? He was like, I don't know. How would I know? I thought that was amazing. Just kept it together. But yeah, so they've been doing this book for quite a few. You've got four issues of Daddy Longlegs and the InchWorm.
Actually, 4 and 1 spinoff, which is the InchWorm.
Right, the Wasteland book. Yep, I was going to talk about that. Yep. So you also got a spinoff, and I understand is working on a new comic. So I'm going to put it in your hands. I'm going to give you the wheel and let you drive and talk about whatever images you have to share with us and tell us about your new project. Okay, now comes can he switch the hosting? Here we go. All right. You are now hosting.
Right. Well, what would you like to do? Well, 2 years ago, this is, can you see this?
No, not yet.
Okay, share screen. Oh, my son is showing me how to use this.
Yes, thank goodness for the youth. Otherwise, we wouldn't know how to do it. All right, you can see it now. We're seeing there we go.
Yes. Well, this is where it all started. You tell a story of how you start, son.
So how I first came up with this is when when I went to the bathroom like one day with my mom and dad. It's a big bathroom, by the way, so don't worry.
No judgments.
And I came up with an idea for a comic book, and I forgot what the idea was, but I told him about it, and then my dad said something along the lines of, he said, I like that idea and all, but how about you make me a superhero? And then I said, yeah, you could be Daddy Longlegs, and I could be the Inchworm. And that's how like I first came up with the idea. But I didn't actually do anything with it for at least like a year or a couple months. And it all like and we went to this graduation ceremony thing.
It was a school that I was teaching at over the summertime. It was called Conrad School of Science. And when he got there, I guess he was inspired because over the summer I was working with a group of children and some summer projects for the state. And my son asked for some paper, and he went to the back of the classroom, and that's where he started drafting up the first issue. Later that night when we got home, he was still drawing, working on the first book, and then the following morning is when he had finished it. He actually drew up the first issue of this story about him and I, superheroes. This is something that he's been doing, for years. Started drawing at the age of 3, always making characters, little stories about anything. He just loved storytelling. It wasn't until he came across some of my comic books in the basement that I had in my boxes from when I used to collect, that he fell in love with storytelling and creating superheroes. He had a problem with creating bad guys in the beginning because he didn't like bad guys. But then, I told him, I said, you need a bad guy. You got to have a good bad guy to make your superhero look, amazing. So he started, getting into that and creating the bad guys. But what he did notice most was that he didn't see enough superheroes that looked like us. So he asked the question and stuff, and then he started making more superheroes that represented us because he wanted to see some that looked like him that were fighting crime. And all of his ideas, my wife and I, he's always bringing new ideas to us. And for his age, his ideas were mind blowing. At the time, 8, 9 years old, he's coming in with these real elaborate ideas and stories and stuff. And that particular day that he's referring to, when he came into the bathroom that day, he was in there, he was showing me another new character. Daddy, look, you got to see this. That's always how it is. Daddy, I got a new idea. So he comes in, he shows me the character, and I'm like, wow. He said, I said, I would love to see you, make me a superhero. And he came up with the name right then and there, real catchy name with Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm. He said, you can be Daddy Longlegs and I can be the Inchworm. And here we are 4 issues later in the series.
That is a beautiful story. So what, Bryce, when you discovered your father's comic book collection, what comics in there stood out to you? Like what were some titles that you felt like inspired you to create these stories?
I think it was like mostly Spider-Man because as you can see, like the superheroes really like resemble Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And even before that, I really liked the idea of Spider-Man, how he looked, how he talked, how he acted. He was like a kid like me too, or not like a kid, but like he was young. He was still a student. And I would see him on TV. I used to love watching his movies and stuff. And then when I came up with the superheroes, he was like the main like idea or like concept for like how I wanted to build up my superheroes and make them look. So they have like their own look to themselves now, but that's where it all started.
So for him, they had to be different. He came up with when he first came up with the idea of it, he said he wanted superheroes that didn't really have that much abilities. Is that when you hear them or when you see them, you think about the comparison of the superheroes and their powers in relation to the bugs. It's like, how are they supposed to save us type of thing? Because that's the idea of Daddy Longlegs and Inchworm. It's like a father and son who acquire these powers, but they're not really superheroes. As a child who gets abilities, he would be, oh my God, I'm a superhero. But as a dad who's trying to protect his son and who's like, okay, I got these abilities now. What? Like I'm trying to get rid of them. I want to save my son and everything. But because we have these abilities. It's like, and then all these things start happening that were never happening before. It's like, okay, son, we got to do something. So we're fighting, and I'm also trying to protect them at the same time. So like Daddy Long Legs, I can stretch my legs. That's about it, to undetermined length. The only thing that separates me from, I guess, a Mr. Fantastic or something, or a Plastic Man, is that my legs, as they stretch, they're solid. They're not elastic. They're not elastic. They're just stretch, and they're very strong. They're 5-6 times more dense than, you know, that of the normal leg. So they're able to do some remarkable things. That's my only ability. And for my son, who in the comic book, you'll see how the chemicals that that got into our bodies, his whole body was immersed in the chemicals. So he's able to do quite a few things. That kind of relates to that of an inchworm. Like and that was the fantastic thing about Bryce, was that he researched just bugs and how he could create a power out of something that was just, the characteristics of it.
And I also researched like what a daddy long legs was, and I originally saw that it was like a part of the scorpion family, which was why his symbol was like supposed to be a scorpion, but now it's like a D with spider legs.
Mm-hmm. And for the inchworm, what he found is that inchworm, it's like the lower part of the food chain. If someone's trying to eat it, what an inchworm does is it just lays there and it pretends to be a stick, pretends to be dead, a stick, and predators tend to overlook it. So what he did in the comic book was he took that and he made it where the inchworm can transform into a stick, an unbreakable stick for, 10 minutes that Daddy Longlegs is able to use in the middle of battle. And in the comic, you see me use him a couple of times where I'm bashing people with my son. Then the other thing is that an inchworm by itself is useless. However, when it's combined with other inchworms, they become a force. Like, they could destroy a house. They can do a lot of damage to items. So the inchworm in the comic book is able to multiply. He's able to he can multiply into several inchworms, and he can shrink. And it was something else you're able to do. He can climb up walls with and he can climb up walls using his belly. That's the one power that he hates. Because he's like, I'm using my belly like a worm instead of, I want to climb up like Spider-Man, but he's on his belly like a worm. So it's a lot of comedy. It's a lot of fun in it. The ideas, characters were all created by my son, and as being his partner in the comic, eventually I became partner in the creation with him. As an artist myself and one who loved comics, it was like as my son was like, "Come on, Dad, let's do it." I said, "Why not?"
That's wonderful. So can you just walk us through like the creation of a comic, like from conception to what are the steps that you take till you get that book out?
So the steps that I take is usually like, first I have to think of the idea. Then after that, I think of the idea, then I have to go to mom and dad and tell them about the idea. And then after I get that out of the way, then I go into drawing the comic book. Even though my mom and my dad advised me to like write it out first, write out the characters, all their abilities, I don't do that. I just go like straight to drawing. Then after I have all that down, then I create like the words for the panels.
Straight to the fun part.
Yeah, skip to the fun part, and then save the worst for last. But sometimes it's different for each book, really. For Grave Mistake, or the book that we're coming out with now, that's the process that I did. Though for the other books, it's more like writing it first. I'm writing it as a storyboard before I actually go into the drawing part.
Mm-hmm. And as for me, since I've become a part of his Pancake Image universe, in helping him, as I've, for some of the fourth issue we worked on together, the third and the fourth we worked on together. But I got to write out the story first. I got to see it, I got to see it, and then I can visualize the images. But the third and fourth. But as I see the images, you know, and we go over them, we go back and forth with it. The story tends to flush itself out. I find myself going back and forth to the story numerous times, you know, working with him, collaborating with him to see, you know, how these characters will continue moving their story. We'll always have to go back to our earlier issues to make sure that we're following in the direction that we need to go, because there's a story, there's a deep story that needs to be told within this whole comic. And we want to make sure that we don't leave anything undone. So yeah, that's a early process. Usually 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm up. When he gets up, he comes down and he joins me, and we dedicate at least most of the morning to it. Sometimes I get other projects, other commitments that I'm also working on as well. I get other commissions, but then we also try to end the day with talking and working on it some more as well.
So do you set a set time during the day? Like, we're gonna 7 to 8 tonight or something. We're going to dedicate that time to Pancake Image projects.
We're in the summertime, you know, he's still young, he's 12. So sometimes he want to come down and watch his TV or something. I say, son, you got a story you got to tell. And then sometimes he'll be pulling me, Dad, I got an idea. You know, I got something I thought of to go with it. And then we'd sit down and we dedicate some time to it. And then we involve his mother. We bring his mother in on it.
Of course, it's a family affair.
We'll go real wild. We'll bump heads and our ideas are going a little far. We got to bring in a rational thought. Say, yo, you can't do that. You can't do that.
It's good to have that other set of eyes, definitely.
It's a lot of fun in here.
Good. So you are you drawing it like pen and ink, or you start with digital?
So for me, I originally I started all pencil and paper. I didn't want to move on to digital ever. I was just gonna keep on drawing pencil and paper, since I know that's how they used to do it stuff. And then after that, I then tried my hand at ink as well. I would usually just draw poster boards with that. I didn't actually make comic books with that. But then for my birthday, which was at least 2 months ago, I think, I got a computer and a drawing tablet, which allowed me to do my own illustrations digitally, like how my dad does it. And
which drawing tablet did you get?
It's the
XP
Artist 12 XP pen, and that's how I did this Great Mistake. That's how I did this book.
The new book.
Yeah.
Awesome. So just a little more about process. So you start, so now that you're digital, you start, you pencil it, you ink it, then Demitrius, when do you come into the process?
So in all the other ones, what we did, we would take a shot of his artwork, or in the beginning we were scanning it in. Once he finished the book, and then I'll outline his work, clean up the lines, and then blow it up and color it. So normally at the end of the book, this current one, the one that he just flash showed you, The Great Mistake, this one was his first one, illustrating all by himself, using the gift that we got him for his birthday. So this is kind of like his gift back to himself with illustrating his own. I was at first I guess I was trying to move him along a little faster than he ready, because I was like, son, you got to go to digital. You got to go, this is the way a lot of comics are made. But then I had to step back from it, and I said, you know what? He's actually doing it right. That's the way I learned, as far as hitting the pencil and pad and paper and, paying attention to the anatomy, learning from my mistakes, the shadowing. And then I started, leaning on him, teaching him that as well. And then eventually when he saw me doing the inking and stuff, he said, well, let me try. And he went into a tablet. He had a tablet, school tablet, that he started doing a couple of drawings on that he liked. And then when we got him the gift, that was it. It took off and running.
I'm a big advocate for that you got to learn the traditional style before you move on to digital, because it informs how you use the digital equipment, right? How the a brush pen lays the ink on the paper, so you know what to expect. It also gives you, I mean, I it took me a while to transition into digital, but it almost felt like cheating when I was first doing it, because you could make huge mistakes and just erase everything away, whereas with traditional pen and ink, with pencil, you can erase, but you pay for it, right? Like there's going to be those ghost images, and with the ink, if you make a wrong stroke, then you either start over or you live with it.
I tell you, see some of my earlier works, it's like, if you know how many times I've erased until I finally got it right, I got to see what I wanted to see.
Right? Having a good eraser is important.
You went straight to pen, drawing it. I'm like, no, you can't do it like that. But it worked for him.
Yeah.
It worked. And but even with digital drawing, I have to say, now you still, I mean, there's a lot of tools you got at your disposal in order to create what you want to create, but you still got to know how to draw, and it is
absolutely.
And then this whole thing with using layers, you got to be mindful of what layers where, so that you can, get the right look to your page. So it still requires a lot of work.
Oh, absolutely. But if he's starting with it now, like learning how to manipulate layers and use those digital tools, he's going to be a beast in, another year or two. But he already is a beast. So do you want to tell us about your new book at all?
Yeah, sure. So our new book is Great Mistake, and it's releasing October 31st. And basically what it's about a guy named Marcus Omar who is tricked into dying by one of the 7 deadly sins, wrath. And the 7 deadly sins, wrath, they don't want to like have to be wrath anymore. They want to have a replacement. So what they try and do is they trick him into dying, and that's like kind of how the story starts. Though after that, he was offered a chance to get his life back, and like the criteria for this is he has to carry out certain missions, killing monsters and stuff. And in doing this, he would get his life back. Though like it's gonna take over at least like a couple years to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a great story. So the story starts with his death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Me to it.
That sounds really, really exciting. And what inspired this story?
Spawn. After watching the Todd McFarlane documentary, I started like reading the Spawn comics that we had here, and even buying some more, and like I started to get like more into like that spiritual genre and stuff, and I tried my hand at my own story. Though originally, like what Great Mistake was, I actually came up with Great Mistake before I even knew about Spawn. That was like at least like when I first came up with That Long as the InchWorm. So the Great Mistake that we have now is a combination of 3 different stories. My original Great Mistake, a different story where like the main character was going to be the 7 deadly sin, wrath, and then another one is a story that I came up with 13 issues for. I drew them all out, I wrote them all out, but then I scrapped all that and made a new series with just 1 issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, when the pandemic hit, my son creatively, he went into a bubble and wrote out 12 stories. 13?
13.
Those 12.
Nah,
13. 13 stories. 13 stories that he wrote out. Yeah.
That's inspiring.
Yeah. I mean, and we were ready to move on him, but then he went back and he wanted to do it over, and then he came with the idea of combining that beginning story of what he had as Great Mistake and incorporate him into the 12 stories that he did, but using his name. Because that Great Mistake idea, when we first heard the name and the concept of it, my wife and I were like, wow, that's good. but it's a far stretch from what he did with Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm. Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm is very playful. It has a lot of, the comic element in there. There's a wonderful story to be told. But this one right here is definitely for a much, a little older, slightly older.
Like at least in the teens.
Yeah, you do preteens, teens, but definitely not the 5 and 6 year olds that we had running up to us. Daddy Longlegs, Inchworm.
Right.
We a little older content.
Well, you can imagine as you get older that you're going to come up with older content. I was going to ask that because I noticed that on the book it says Pancake Images After Dark.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So this is
that was definitely an argument. You wanted it to be just Pancake Images, and I let them know, well, it's got to be something. We need something that separates the playful from a little bit of the older content, but still people understand it is under Pancake Images company.
right.
It's still created by a young man, but it's for as you grow, your writing's going to grow, your ideas are going to grow, and we didn't want to stop him from that. We didn't want to hinder that. So of course we got to curve a lot of the ideas and let them know what's right and what's wrong, and we always enforcing the research facts, especially if you're going into an area where you're going to talk about something that's like a taboo. That's taboo. You can at least be somewhat correct in what you're saying. You can as a storyteller, you can create a story. You can tell your story your way, but you got to be at least factual with some of the things.
Right. That's good fatherly advice. Great. So I noticed you're talking about the pandemic and just like this crazy time that we live in right now. Has that come into your storytelling at all? Does it get into your news story, or do you have anything on the works that addresses, because there's so much going on in the world right now between the protests and this insane presidential election and pandemic, and there's so much of it. Has any of it come into your work, or will it?
I was thinking maybe like later in the story it would have something to do with that, especially in like Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm issue 5. Something really close to that is going to happen in the comic book. Later in the comic book though, like later in the issue. But with the presidential election and the pandemic and stuff, like it really hasn't affected any of my stories. It hasn't like been incorporated in it, or at least now. Not that I'm gonna do anything with it like at the moment, but I think it's gonna like at least have a little bit a part to play in it.
Well, I gotta say, this the 5th issue that we are working on, and this had started before the actual pandemic. Say, excuse me, you're gonna get some water. What the 5th issue before the pandemic, as he started writing the story and started coming up with the ideas to it, it has a pinch of what's actually taking place with the pandemic and everything. And it was just ironic that when it hit, like, wow, this is sort of kind of in what you were writing about.
Oh wow!
But you'll see when it comes out. This is one of the more interesting stories out of it. And you can see how he's grown, and myself is as far as being a participant in it, we both grown in the storytelling of it.
Great. And so I know that you guys went to a lot of cons. I saw you at several and stuff like that. So how have you been doing in this no con world? Like, how have you been finding places to share your work? And
the craziest thing is that we were so excited to come out to Boston for the Boston Comics in Color. We were so excited, and yours was going to be the first. We were going to go to right before the pandemic hit, so that you were the first to cancel, and then every other one that we had for later on in the year, because we were pretty booked between actually doing Comic Cons and we had a couple of showcases we had to do. We were doing presentations and personal speakings and stuff. Everything got shut down. So it took a hit. It took a hit, but in that aspect, but the creativity, it just went on. Like I said, 13 issues. And for me, I got a chance to take on a lot of outside commissions. So I guess as people were home, They had nowhere to go, nothing to do. They decided to pursue their own dreams. So they, always had me in mind. They thought, are you still creating? Can you create this book? Can you do this picture? So that picked up definitely. But we let's see, we've had a couple of offers to do virtual teachings, both him and I, to teach other children how to create comic books during this, and we're going to have our first in-person well, it's not really a Comic-Con, but it's going to be an outdoor event that's happening. A vendor event is happening the 31st of this month in October at a place out there in Delaware called Wiley's Farm.
Mm-hmm.
They heard about us. They wanted us to come and have a table, and as the children come out, they could come see us. So, it's going to be outdoors. We're going to have our masks and keep it, be as safe as possible. But we want to engage again with the public.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've been hearing from different artists, like, some people are saying that it's just been devastating, especially the guys who do the cons, and really that's how they get their money. You know what I mean? But it's good to hear that you're getting commissions and that there's been a lot of time for, creativity. Because I know that for me, like when the pandemic started, I put all my energy into creation because like everything else, the con had been, had to cancel it, no choice. But, and I was really down about that, but I just poured all that into making comics, and it was really great. And I didn't come up with 13 stories, but I came up with a few things.
Comes up with 13 stories.
How come everybody doesn't have 13 stories? No. But I've also heard that, like, I thought I heard that, like, LA Comic Con is, like, actually doing an in-person thing. So I'm not sure. I guess we'll just see how that goes and see if there's going to be some more cons coming back, because I miss it. I don't know about y'all, but I miss it.
I do too. As the dates rolled around and summer moved on and came to an end, we thought of all of the events, the outdoor events we would have been a part of, the Act Back where we met you at. Again, we missed yours, your Comic-Con, and so many others. It's like, oh man. We even had one that was extended all the way out until December, which was going to be at the Ocean City Comic-Con.
That's a big one.
Which they just recently canceled. Yeah, he did one last year where he was one of the main speakers.
Wow.
He had his own speaking and teaching other children how to create comic books.
That's awesome. I always, like, on almost every single Comics in Color when we were meeting in person, I would bring you guys up because it's just like that is such a young man was creating all these books, and the father and son element of it. I just feel like it's just so inspiring that, because a lot of times kids think, oh, my stories aren't important. Nobody's going to care about the stories that I come up with. And it's just not true. And, you guys are a great example of that, that stories are important and you can tell them at all ages. So I want to thank you for the work that you do. So I'm going to ask my last question. We're getting down to the last 15 minutes, and I want to give a chance for other folks to ask questions if they'd like to. But so my last question, and this is what we're all about, is how can we make sure that diverse voices are heard and represented in the world of comics?
Say that one more time.
How can we make sure, or what can we do to ensure that diverse voices are represented in comics?
Well, we've got to educate. We've definitely got to educate. You've got to do your research because there are a lot of independent comic creators that look like us that are out there right now. We've come across so many in our journey as far as comic book creators. You need the diverse voices. You need to be seen. We have some incredible stories to tell. Just as Bryce was inspired once he saw the Black Panther, when he seen that come out, there's so much more of a need to see more of us, and not as just side characters, not as the villains, but also that we have a representation within the comic book industry. We're heroes, we're pioneers, we're inventors, we're scientists. Powers or not, our voices are important. So
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Well, I want to open it up, see if anybody had any questions for you guys. Chris?
Did the character design change at all, like during planning and staging the comic? Because I know no designs always stay the same.
For Daddy Long Legs, the InchWorm or the Great Mistake? I think that.
Um,
Hands and seat.
Daddy Long Legs and the InchWorm.
Yes, yeah, very. For starting out, I was actually gonna make InchWorm's costume blue, and Daddy Long Legs' costume red, like Deadpool. And like I said before, Daddy Long Legs' symbol, like on the middle of his chest, was supposed to be a scorpion, and InchWorm was gonna be like what do you call it? Like a maggot, because InchWorms eat like through bricks and stuff.
But then he came up with the design of the InchWorm symbol became where the was part of the W, and it had the I'm showing the wrong cover. The lines on the worm incorporate the letters on the chest, the InchWorm. The reason why he originally was going with a scorpion is because when he researched it, a daddy long leg wasn't considered a spider. It was more in the scorpion family, so that's where it came from.
And W on his chest, like on the top of the W, there's like a circle there, and that's supposed to represent an eye, and then W for InchWorm.
Awesome.
So the beginning process was a lot of change, a lot of back and forth, but the end result is what you see here.
That was a great question.
That's cool.
Gabriel?
Yeah, so it was really cool hearing about like the creation process behind the Daddy Longlegs and InchWorm. Curious, as co-creators, do y'all ever have disagreements? And if so, how do you settle them?
I hear laughter in the background.
So we have a mediator in the arguments. That's my wife. A lot of times she got to help us. She comes in between and sits us down. We have to go over the facts, the issue itself, and then we come to an agreement, or we agree to disagree in certain things. The goal is, I guess, as long as the project gets done, and it gets done where we don't disappoint our fans. I don't know how you feel, son.
I'm always right, but sometimes I gotta listen. But I still think
that's right. Dad first. But yeah, no, he's we just try to, I know for me, in all honesty, just try to stay, true to the characters, true to his creativity as him being the original creator of the idea and everything. And we try to be fair with one another. We sit down, we schedule creative meetings where we're actually sitting down and we're talking about the ideas, deadlines, upcoming events, character changes. Between the three of us, that's it. We sit right at our dining room table, and it's you schedule maybe one, sometimes a surprise one within a month, but definitely one time a month we meet and we go over the direction we're going.
So in a nutshell, yeah, we have a lot of disagreements and how we settle it. We just talk it out.
That's great. Great advice. Jacob.
Is like ever a way that you could incorporate certain personalities into how they fight, or like certain things about how they live?
That's basically like the entirety of the comic book. Like their personalities is like how they interact with each other, and the way that they fight isn't like exactly incorporated in the comic book. They just throw hands, but their personalities are based off of us because, well, that's the characters in the comic book.
Great. Any more questions?
A little over the top at times.
Having a little bit of internet lag there, Demetrius. I didn't quite catch that.
No, I was just saying it's some of our, the personalities can be a little over the top at times just for the comedy purpose, within the story. But a lot of it relates to, what goes on within our household.
Gotcha. It's always good to base stories on real life because that adds a ring of truth to them, I find.
Absolutely. Like in this 5th issue coming up, there was an incident that took place in the house, and we kind of used it in the story. We made it where it was a small incident in the house, but in the comic it became a big one that the InchWorm had to, he regrets. Yeah, he regrets the way how he reacted. In the comic, he didn't get a chance to say something to me, not to give too much away, but it's a really good story.
Awesome. Do we have any more questions, guys? All right. Well, I want to thank you two very much for joining us for Comics in Color. This was really great, really inspiring, learning about your work. So to finish us up, why don't you tell us where we can find your work and how to get to you?
So where you can find our work, like without having to go to shows or anything, you can go on Amazon and just search up either my name or the name of the comic books. We're also on Barnes and Nobles, right?
All online retail stores.
Yeah.
Daddy Longlegs and the Inchworm. And please visit his website because we're going to be putting up a lot of the new content, videos. We're going to give Easter eggs in there, links to merchandise, everything. It's on www.pancakeimages.com. And pancake is spelled with K in me, Pankake. Please like and follow us because we're about to put up a lot of the stuff that we've created over the pandemic.
So is that how we, do you have social media as well?
We do. Well, I do. I connect everything through me. He doesn't have his own account yet. But you can follow us on Instagram, which is my name, actually, Demitrius. A little long, guys. Bear with me. Demitrius, DEMITRIUS _ motion, MOTION _ Bullock, BULLOCK. I just put up Pancake Images link that's going to be on the Instagram, but there's no content up there yet, but we're about to start flooding it where that would be the primary link to just keep up with a lot of the stuff. You'll see a lot of different things there from the website, from the YouTube and so on and so forth. So just please go to the link and follow us and keep up with the growth of this young man and his ideas and our adventures as superheroes.
We're gonna be at some shows. So the most recent show that we're gonna be at is going to be October 31st at Wiley Farms from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're also gonna be at Artscape in Wilmington on November 29th to December
20th.
4 Sundays.
4 Sundays in November and December. For all those who want to travel out to Delaware, definitely come check us out.
Hey, you never know. So that's awesome. We definitely recommend folks, pick up your comics, order them on Amazon, right? That's where you recommend getting them from. I will definitely. And you're releasing the new book on October 31st, correct? You're on mute. You're on mute there, my friend.
Yeah, that's the Great Mistake. Great Mistake will be released out on 31st. However, We're finalizing the proof now, so it may be available on Amazon.
Before then.
Yeah, before then.
Okay, well, you let us know when it's available on Amazon, and I'll definitely put that out to the Comics in Color community. You sold one book, I can tell you that. At the very least, I want that Grave Mistake book because that looks amazing. I love the sound of the story. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
of course.
Good card.
But thank you so much again for joining us and telling us about your work. This was amazing. If you want to, did you give me back the hosting yet? Could you, Bryce, put me back on the host?
All right, yeah.
Great. But yeah, this was great. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope that there's some more cons coming up soon so I can see you guys in person and that we can get you back to Boston, get you to Boston for our con whenever it happens again. But I'm so glad you were able to join us here today. So I'm just going to really quickly
to the third member of the Pancake Images universe. Come here real quick.
Oh man, I am honored.
To come in and jump in real quick.
Yes, can't forget Mom.
Mom.
That's an important part.
This is Pancake Images. Three of us with a son as the CEO.
Well, y'all are doing great work.
Thank you.
And just want to put out there for everybody that our next one's on November 14th. And Gabriel Reed, who is here with us today, is going to be presenting his work. And we're going to be talking about Black mental health. And I'm very excited about that. So thanks again for everybody coming. And we'll see you next month.
See you then.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a good day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.